many people know that the University of Windsor Hall of Famer is inspiring a lot of youth in Canada. As a career and professional athlete, his public speaking have helped him become an accomplished coach who understands the values of effective communication. On today's edition, we are lucky to interview this Hall of Famer who is going to share a lot of his life experience with us and what he is doing as a police officer in Windsor, Canada. And my name, Stephen Armah Quaye. With Constable Jamie Adjetey-Nelson, discovery will be made about his skills at seeing the potentials in others, fostering team members to realize their full potential and promoting the growth of individual team members, and more about him as a peace officer in charge of Diversity Department of Windsor Police. Let's go to the lines and start speaking to Constable Adjetey-Nelson.
My name is Jamie Adjetey-Nelson. I'm the Diversity, Inclusion, and Recruitment Outreach Officer for the Windsor Police Service. I've been in this position for 1 year now, but I've been a police officer for 8 years. Before this, I coached at the University of Windsor for the track and field team. And before that, I was a professional track and field athlete. I competed for Windsor, the University of Windsor, and I've competed for Canada at international events. In 2010, I won the Commonwealth Games in the decathlon in Delhi, India. And before, I participated in the Francophone Games, World Student Games, Pan American Combined Events Championships, and the Pan Am Juniors, to name some of the international competitions I was a part of.
Constable Adjetey-Nelson, apart from athletics, what other sporting activities do you enjoy watching?
I love being fit. So growing up, I did many sports, but I really enjoyed basketball, volleyball, soccer. I like to watch hockey. I never played. And I just love trying new things. So badminton, baseball, I participated in all those different sports.
Can you tell us which team support or like watching when playing or competing?
So I really like watching playoffs or championships. So, because of my life, I'm busy. I don't always get to watch all the sports I want, but I really enjoy basketball. Some of my favorite athletes are LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, some retired players, Kevin Garnett. So I really enjoyed basketball, and I really enjoyed following different athletes other than teams. But if I had to choose my favorite team, it's the San Antonio Spurs.
That is great. Please, how was your childhood life before discovering sportsmanship in you? Can you please share it with us?
Well, I started track and field. I did it when I was a youth in elementary school. I enjoyed it. I wasn't the best at it. So for me, it was really much about participation, learning something new, making new friends. So I did that. In high school, sports became a little bit more serious. There was more tryouts, and you had to be one of the best in your school to compete. So with that, I tried all the events. I tried jumping, I tried sprinting, I tried distance running. I even tried throwing. And I think in that, I was able to find the sprints and the jumps. I was a 400-meter runner, and I hurdled, and I did a little bit of high jump and long jump. I continued in those, and my high school was very good in track and field. They had one of the best relay teams in the province at that time in Ontario. So we had a very good training group. So my training was top notch. I got to train with people who were very dedicated and passionate. So every practice I went to was a hard training series. And I think that helped me become the type of athlete I was, because everything was a competition. So I did very well. My team, we won the high school championships, OFSA championship in track and field in 1999 and 2001 as a team. In those years, in all my years of high school, I believe I won 9 OFSA championship medals, 5 gold, to think of that. And then from there, I attended the University of Windsor, who at the time was the top university in Canada for track and field. When I got there, it was the same thing. I sprinted, I jumped, but they also had the multi-events. That is when you compete in a certain amount of events and you get points for each event, and whoever has the most points at the end is considered the champion. So for university, it was the pentathlon, which was the 60-meter hurdles, long jump, shot put, high jump, and the 1,000 meters. So in university, it was an indoor season, so we competed indoors, and that was my main event on top of the sprints that I did. And when I was a freshman, I broke the Canadian record for university athletes. My university career went very well. I was an all-Canadian all 5 years. My team won 3 national championships, and at the same time, I was competing for Canada at different competitions around the world. When I was completed school, I graduated from the Bachelor of Education. Instead of teaching, I continued on with my track endeavors. I competed at the Francophone Games where I won a bronze, and then the following year I won the Commonwealth Games in the decathlon. So the decathlon is 10 events over 2 days. It's the 100 meters, the long jump, the shot put, the high jump, the 400 meters. Then that's 1 day. You go to sleep, wake up the next. You have 5 more events: the 110-meter hurdles, discus throw, vault, javelin, and my least favorite, but most grueling and rewarding, the 1,500 meters. I competed in that as my main event at the professional level. And that year I won the Commonwealth Games. I finished the year ranked 12th in the world. The following year I went to the World Championships and competed there. And in my attempt for the 2012 Olympics, I was competing with a fellow competitor, Damian Warner, and we battled right up to the 1,500 meters, and Damian was victorious. In that event, I injured my hamstrings and wasn't able to complete the event, but my whole career was very rewarding. And because of that, I'm able to sit here with you and talk about it. And I also get to watch Damian Warner, the Olympic gold medalist and Olympic record holder, compete at the highest level as a Canadian, and be very proud that I was able to see that.
Thank you. Trying this and trying that and trying this, some other youth also find themselves in that same situation. But can you tell us exactly when you discovered the sporting instincts in you, and what did you do to actually build that up?
That's a great question. I believe my mental strength came first. I wasn't always the best at sports, but one thing I knew is if I showed up and I tried my hardest, my coaches noticed, and I saw improvements in myself. So you don't always have to be the best, but it's the effort that you put forward in everything you do that's the most rewarding. No matter what the outcome, knowing that you have given your best, you're open to trying something new. I think that did well for my career in school, in sports, and in life. That openness, knowing that you might not always be the best, there will be some failures, but hard work and opportunity come together. With that hard work, I was given opportunities to try new things. Sometimes when people might not have shown up, I was always there, so a coach could look to me to be dependable. So, those are some values that last with you forever.
How did you transform from athlete to a coach and now a police officer?
Well, I think it comes from in sports, especially at the lower levels, it's volunteering, people giving their time to assist people. So I had coaches who were teachers, volunteers, who had other jobs, but in their free time, they offered support to me and my teammates. And when I saw that, I saw that you could get results, you could build relationships. It was something I always wanted to be a part of. They were educating me. And I thought that was great to take part in something you love and teach someone else. and I was learning, coaching was the next best thing for me. It was community driven. I was able to help people. And with all that I had learned and experienced over the world, I felt I could bring something to the athletes who were up and coming at the university level, at the national level, because experience is sometimes the best teacher, whether good or bad. So coaching was something that was important to me, along with teaching. And then policing, it falls within the same realm. I'm working within the community. Most people believe policing is just about arresting people. No, it's about educating the community. It's about having positive interactions. So from being an athlete, learning, to then becoming an educator as a coach and a motivator, it only worked well for me in policing in my role now. And even as a patrol officer, I'm out there interacting with the community, educating them on the laws or the policies of the city or of just the law, and being just a communicator of positiveness in our community. And I thought it was very important for me to represent my community. It's a community that's not very large of Black and minority officers. So I felt that was something where I could once again help motivate youth to achieve different things outside of what they believe they can do.
What do you do on a daily basis to keep your fall?
Yeah, on an ordinary day, I don't identify as a police officer. It is something I do and I'm good at, but I'm a family man. I'm a father. I have two young children, and as my parents did for me, much of my life revolves around providing for them. So it's not always just work. My kids are involved in different activities outside of school, and I love attending those events. I love teaching them. I love spending time with them. So, much of my time is doing that. And I also enjoy cooking. So cooking is something that I do, and I feel I'm really good at it. So I'm always in the kitchen preparing. Nourishment it comes in so many different ways, and the stomach is one of the ways I'm good at. So I spend much of my time learning there as well, trying different things to be better at it. So first, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son. So I'm really into doing things with my family and spending time with them.
Formerly athlete and a coach, I know you were having some physical activities that you used to do to keep you healthy and keep your form. Now, as a peace officer, what other physical activities do you do?
I stay training. I do some of the things. I don't run as much as I used to, but something my father always taught me, flexibility is very important. So, stretching is the first and foremost. Lifting weights and running hard is great, but if I can't go through that proper range of motion, I'm in danger of hurting myself. Just the other day, my 7-year-old was racing my father, who's almost 70, and he can do that because he took care of his body. So, I do play other sports sometimes, basketball and volleyball, but it's just maintaining a healthy body, eating well so that I can enjoy as my father would call them, the later years of life with my children and my family. So I just stay active through working out, stretching, and participating in different activities.
Constable Adjetey-Nelson, what are some of the lessons that you have learned from your time of professional athletics?
No task is done alone, and it's the company you keep, the people you surround yourself with, and asking for help. At all three of those levels, that's important in my job. I cannot be an expert in everything, even though I was in a track and field event where I needed to be an expert. In order for me to do well in every single one of those events, I needed help from someone. I needed assistance. I needed a proper communication, working in a group. So that's what I brought. And that's what I would say to anyone. Even when you are an expert, it's still good to collaborate with others so that ideas stay fresh, and you don't fall behind. And know that every goal has a group mentality to it. We don't build roads on our own. We don't build bridges on our own. We have people to work with.
What is diversity, inclusion, and outreach recruitment all about? And as a head of that unit, what do you do?
Policing is very broad. It's a very broad profession. We do a lot, and it's evolved. Policing 100 years ago is different than it is now. If there's anything I can say about policing and people's views on policing, they should treat it like their home. Your home has a set of rules, and in the typical home, you have a leader in that home, the parents or someone. There's a set of rules they live by, and same goes with the law. There's a set of rules that have been set out in the criminal code, in traffic, in property that we need to follow. And the police are there to educate people on those laws, which sometimes they don't know, but also enforce them, and for people to understand that we can't just do whatever we want when it comes to things of criminal nature. We all have someone to answer to or something to answer to, just like in our homes. If rules are broken, there's someone to answer to. There can be consequences, or there can just be education on that. So policing is very much about educating, but like anything, there are consequences for actions, and we help collect information. We don't necessarily make the final decision on that. That's why we have a court system. So policing, and what we do is collect information. That's why we're always asking questions. And if there's immediate action that needs to be taken, we take that action. But I always tell people, you are not guilty right away. There has to be a trial. There has to be process that has to go through. So, it's not something we take lightly, because sometimes we do take away people's freedoms. So because of that, we have to live by a set of rules. It's not each individual police officer's rules. There's a book that we follow. There's policy that we follow, and we don't just do what we want, because if we did that, we're just the same as anyone out there doing what they want. There has to be a set of rules. We help people understand those rules. We enforce some of those rules. But when we're doing that, we're just collecting that information, and we're bringing it to a process where you can defend yourself with a lawyer, and the Crown or the province is there to go through that process with you.
And now, this might sound a little bit difficult, a question, but please tell us, will you give a relative a speeding ticket as an officer?
Yeah, that's the law. There's rules and policies. You can't be above it. You can't be above it. And those are learning moments. If people are able to do whatever they want, and those rules are there to protect the community. Speeding is very dangerous when we have children who are playing in the streets, depending where you are. And people have to understand, the faster you drive, the less reaction time you have, the less that you can stop and you could harm someone. So everything we do is safety, whether it's physical, mental, there's rules applied. So my family has to follow those rules as well. And it would make difficult for dinner time, but they have to understand that. But saying that, there's policies that are in place so that officers are not having to investigate their family, because that's called a conflict of interest. So, we can't do that ourselves, and an officer has to contact someone so they're partial to that situation.
Social media these days are full of hate speeches such as insults and threats. Any comments about that, Constable Nelson?
Social media it's important. It's in our community. It's in the world. As it comes in regards to policing, I have no control over what one officer does somewhere else. And as a Black man, people have painted me in a picture because of who I am. And in that sense, I tell people we shouldn't do that, because if we say all of something is one way, that takes away who we are as a person. That's why I always say in those situations, I'm not always quick to defend, but asking questions. Curiosity is good, and understanding that we're all individuals. As a police officer, I'm not Jamie Adjetey-Nelson anymore. When I put on this uniform, I am, and the person I am judges my character and how I do things. But no one is perfect. I can't speak for other officers, and I hope they don't speak for me. I just focus on what I can do, live by example, and the youth, I hope they can, as they grow, they do that with every situation they're in and every person they're in, is be curious and ask questions. And even though we're an authoritative figure in policing, you have the right as a community to ask those questions, because we're the police are the community. So we are all one. So to understand that, don't paint all police officers with the same brush.
Thank you very much. But if you have been following what is going on the social media, people, instead of educating, building contents, rather resort to attacking leaders, presidents, prime ministers, politicians, the clergy, the people who are very dignified in our community. Attack, insult, condemnations, character assassination. What is your comment about that?
It's part of the job. When you put yourself in a position where you're a community figure, there's a lot for you to answer for. I have no I have no visions that as a police officer, people are not going to be upset with my profession and what I do. It's how I handle it. As a leader in my community, it's my job to educate. Emotions are very strong, and I can't tell people how to feel. I can only provide them with what I know and speak on what I know. I can't speak towards their feelings. I can empathize. But as leaders in our community at any level, we have to stay, I don't want to say above it, but we need to listen and reply accordingly and understand and not take it personal. Because as leaders in our community, people are going to do things that the community is not going to like, because we are all individuals, and we just have to understand that they are going to feel that way. But it's up to us as people who put ourselves in this position to just inform people on what's happening.
Now let's have a little bit a shift here. Constable Adjetey-Nelson, what is diversity, inclusion, and outreach recruitment all about? And as a head of that unit, what do you do?
You want your police service to represent your community. So, policing is a profession that's been predominantly white males, and it's hard for our communities to believe that all our communities are white males. So my job is to go into the community and recruit people of diverse backgrounds and get their interest in becoming police officers. But at the same time, it's also, being a bridge between the police service and those communities. The outreach is in listening. Much of what I do is listening to the community, listen to what's happening, and try to create a relationship where it's a bit more open and we're able to collaborate together to help our community, because the police are no good if we don't have the support of our community. And if a part of our community feels neglected, I'm there to listen.
Can you share some of the successes in your police career and your new position with our viewers and listeners, please?
Well, it's been tough with the pandemic, being able to reach out to the community. I don't really like to talk about, successes and things like that, because I look at it as a challenge to always be working, always trying to get better. So if anything is a success, it's becoming more involved with the police, service and the community, being a part of different organizations within our community, giving presentations, and, yielding to the call, being called by my community to step up and help them in situations, having that open door policy where they can feel free to contact me and I can just do the best that I can to assist.
What is your advice to the general public?
Oh, if I could give any advice to the youth, to let them know life is challenging, but that doesn't mean there's many failures. And in that challenge, look to the people around you to support you and lift you up, but at the same time, lift someone else up. And that's where life experience will get you where you need. Everything you go through in life has something that can teach you to be better the next time. As a police officer, I just want to continue to be who I was before I got on the job, and that's be collaborating with my community, being involved, being supportive, and being empathetic, and not forgetting where I came from and the importance that the community and the police have to living in a society that is safe and beautiful for everyone. I mean, it's the same as I would give the youth. Keep the communication open. Know that what you feel is what you feel, but let's work together to help each other. We don't have all the answers as a police service, and in order for us to help our community, we have to know what the community wants and how they want things done, so we're not always telling people what to do.
Thank you very much, and I'm most grateful to you, Constable Jamie Adjetey-Nelson, for granting me this wonderful interview.
It's important for us to highlight not just our leaders, but the people who are highlighting those leaders. So I want to thank you today for having me as an interviewee, and it was great meeting you today.
And that comes to the end of the segment. Next week, we promise to bring you another segment. Once again, my name is Armah Quaye, a freelance broadcast journalist in Toronto, Canada.